see your expression, it's okay. Doesn't matter. I will assume you all are enjoying the session.
Yes, Sarbari, the peculiarity with this Microsoft team is that, the main speaker, becomes part of one of the windows. And if everyone switches off video, then the main speaker becomes the focus of the main window. So that is why
Acha,
we
acha.
request everyone to switch off
Okay,
video
okay,
when the
okay,
session is on. Again, when the interaction starts in the question answer session, we all will switch on our videos. So that's how it
okay.
is.
Sounds
And
very good. I'm sorry, I
okay,
didn't know that.
uh, no
So,
issues. Okay, so to begin with, few words about Sarbari. All of us have known about her. I had requested her to post introduction when she joined the group, but I can't hold myself from talking about her because I have the privilege of calling her my classmate. And I didn't realize back when we were in BIT Mesra, probably I wouldn't have spoken so much about her that I can speak now. Uh, Sarbari is born and brought up in Jamshedpur. Of course, her education has been outside Jamshedpur most of the time, probably Lucknow, Sarbari, right? Schooling and all,
Lucknow,
college. Yeah.
college, Lucknow, Banaras, Ranchi.
Okay. Ranchi. Okay. And then she
BIT,
joined us. Sorry.
yeah. BIT Ranchi. Huh?
Yeah. She joined us in BIT Mesra. We were in the same batch, electronics and communication. And probably later on, she moved to US. And there she did her master's in computer science. And she was working in Intel 1988 onwards. Her husband is Devashish is an alumnus of IIT Kharagpur, and he also has been very active in the various activities that they do together. The best thing about this couple is, and because I keep observing them on social media on Facebook, that everything that they're together, they travel together, they participate in activities together, and whatever work they do on the social front and the NGOs that they work for, all of these things they do together. And an ideal example of how a supporting couple should be. They keep supporting each other. So we already spoke about a few works of art that she had done. She has done on traditional folk art, painting, etc. Her movie Brotu Alpna is award-winning movie. It has won so many awards, and of course we'll have other sessions from Sarbari sometime later in the group. But today she is going to Sarbari and Devashish are very keen travelers. She already mentioned that she has seen 70 countries and all the 7 continents. So a small part of her experience she is going to share with us, and which is her voyage to Antarctica. So with this, Sarbari, over to you. You may begin. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashutosh. I wasn't sure who you were talking about. इतना अच्छा बोल रहे थे. अच्छी अच्छी बातें. Anyway, going on. So, Antarctica. Now, how did Antarctica come into our heads? I'll just take a couple of minutes to talk about that. Um, I am a crazy person. So while I was working, one of my colleagues at work at Intel, she and her husband visited Antarctica and showed us pictures. And these pictures were so fascinating and so like remote, out of this world. It's like, wow, really people can actually go to Antarctica and as a tourist. So since then, this was almost 15, 16 years ago that I first found out that you could actually go as a tourist to Antarctica, because most of the time what we think is Antarctica matlab scientific um, stations and so on and so forth. So that's how the idea came into our mind. And the picture that I'm sharing, and I'm going to make this a little bit larger right now, this screen a little bit larger, is something like this, right? With penguins and an ocean and mountains with.
Can't see your screen, Sarbari. Can you please share your screen? I think it's
Oh,
dropped in between.
I thought, okay, let me see. Share. Entire screen.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just share the entire screen and share. Okay, now I'll open. Okay, is this better?
Yes. You can you maybe you can expand this window a little so that we
A
have
little
a
bit
better
more.
view. Yeah.
Okay, is this better?
Yes. Perfect.
Okay. Okay, great. So this is kind of what we think about Antarctica. And actually, this is our ship, the ship that we were on. So visiting Antarctica is really, as a tourist, is really about, uh, just one second. সুন্দরী তুমি এখান থেকে যাওয়া আসা করলে না দেখা যাচ্ছে ক্যামেরাতে ওই পাশে গিয়ে sorry. So as a tourist, the way you visit Antarctica is you go on a ship and it's a cruise. So you live on the ship. You don't really live on land during your time over there. Now there are some flights that you can take, and in that case they have tents. But most of the time it's like a ship like this, and then this is the land where the penguins are and the different other animals and birds. You come to land and look at them. Okay. Okay. So next, this is what the continent looks like. It's really, really a lot of inches and inches of feet and feet of ice. Okay. So where is Antarctica? And what does it look like? So Antarctica has the South Pole. So it's really the southernmost continent that, as we were growing up, we hardly thought of it as a continent or even counted it, I should say. And you're probably familiar with this at this time because nowadays one sees this in a map quite a bit. Okay, so the next thing is, how do we get to Antarctica? So to get to Antarctica, uh, one way is from the southern part of Argentina in South America. Oh, shit. I'm sorry, all these weird things are coming. You can go from New Zealand, you can go from Australia, or you can go from South Africa. From South Africa, it's like a 2 hour flight. I'm sorry, from about a 2 hour flight uh, or a 5 hour flight. Okay. And if you take the ship, the nearest, as you can see, is from the south of Argentina to that little pointy part of Antarctica. And that is the one path that we took. Okay, we went by cruise ship from Ushuaia in, actually, it's not March, it's February of 2022. The cruise ended in March. Okay, so Antarctica is the seventh continent, and that's my husband and I. And here we are standing actually on land, not on one of the islands, but on actual the continent of Antarctica. This is another view with the icebergs. When is the best time to travel? So most tours operate November through March. Remember, this is the southern hemisphere, so it is midsummer. And this is when the temperatures are warmest. Okay. And then how long in advance should you book your visit? We had booked about a year ago. So a year to 9 months, because the seats are very limited and cruises book up fast. Now, if you think about cruise ships, typically these are huge ships with 3,000 plus tourists on them, and it's like one big party the whole time in the Caribbean and the Mediterranean, wherever. Okay, but an Antarctic cruise is typically much, much smaller. The one that we took, there were 100 tourists and about 100 crew to, for everything put together. Okay, so that's some information. What do we do and see? Okay, so you stay on the ship, like I said. Then you take these rafts. Since the ship will not go up to the land, it kind of docks a little bit away from the land. And then there are these rafts called the Zodiac. And they fit 10 people to one Zodiac, actually 11, because 10 tourists and one your expedition lead. And then in those rafts, you go up to the land. And a lot of the landings, you actually landed in the water and then had to wait through. There are some kayaks that you can rent and just kayak around a little bit if it is not ice locked. Then once you're on land, you can hike the terrain to see penguin colonies, different kinds of seals, um, different birds, so on and so forth. Also, about 100 years ago, there used to be a lot of whaling where they collected the whale blubber for oil. And you can see remnants of the infrastructure that they had built, like where they kept the oil and the big whaling ships. Some of them are still there. Okay, their cabins. And then while on board, um, our cruise directors actually uh, are they're very learned people. Most of them had PhDs in certain areas or the other, either wildlife, some had it on um, the ocean species, some have had PhDs on the environment, so on and so forth. So every day there were lectures on something or the other. So that's what you do aboard. Because, one might think, well, 10 days, what do you do? If you're going on land just for a short time every day, what do you do the rest of the time? So these are some of the things that is one does. Okay, and this is a picture of a big fat seal and some penguins. They coexist very, very sweetly over there. Any questions? Okay, if not, what I'm going to do is I will run a video. Now, this video is of, actually, before we go there, I want to just talk about this one guy. Uh, his name was Ab Steverdoon. We call him Ab. He was our expedition leader, and he was one of the people that really made this cruise come alive and made sure that we really got what we were kind of expecting from our cruise. So, and as you can see, this is a little bit about him. He was born in the Netherlands, and then he's so involved into nature and landscaping and so on and so forth. So he has a nice big resume, but he was key to the success, I think, of this tour. And later on, I'll talk about some of the other people who were our cruise leads also. Okay. So what I'm going to do right now is, let me come up over here. For some reason, this is frozen. Let me close these. I want to talk about Sana later. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead. This is a video of our cruise. And as I go through this, I will, I will keep talking. I'll stop the video and talk about what's going on. Okay. So let's start. Okay, move. So we started out at this place called Ushuaia. Those were the dates of our tour.
If there is an audio in the video, we can't hear it. Is there an audio also?
Yes.
So maybe 1 second, you will have to do some adjustment. Uh, when you are sharing, can you
I
stop
can hear.
sharing and
I'm able
sorry,
to hear. I can hear.
you can hear? Okay, fine,
Ye-
then go ahead. Go ahead, Sarbari. Can you hear
You
the
can.
audio of
I
the
can hear
video?
a light music.
It's music. It's music.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay, fine then. It's fine. Okay, go ahead, please.
So here we are loading the ship. These are our tour coordinators. We were brought in this bus to the ship before sailing. This was the food, and the food was great. This is a lounge. Here, all the prep is happening for us to set sail. And here we are sailing. Off we go. Bye bye, Ushuaia. So I'm stopping it because I want to say something. Remember, this was the time we were just coming out of COVID, right? So everybody had their masks on, and this was a lounge, and we were actually divided into four groups: A, B, C, D. So C and D were English speaking, and A and B were Russian speaking. We actually had 50 out of the 100, we had 50 people who were Russian speaking and 50 people who went with English. Now, let me mention one more thing about COVID. So, the day before we boarded the cruise, we had to test, we had our COVID test, and only people who passed the test were allowed on the cruise. So, all 100 had passed. That was great. They came on. The first day, when we entered the ship, we had another COVID test. And as luck would have it, one person tested positive for COVID. As a result, obviously that person was quarantined. Now, that the cabins were double occupancy. So the unfortunate person, the really unfortunate person, was the one sharing the room with the COVID patient who was also quarantined. So though these people had paid for the cruise and everything, they had to spend the whole time in their cabin. They couldn't come. Okay, so this is a lounge where we were asked to gather so that we could have the drill on safety. You can see people holding the orange, um, whatever, the life vests. And we were going to get instructions on how to use the life vest. And there is, in the corner, there's tea and coffee. They took care of us. They took care of us. This is where we are getting the training. Then we got badges. Uh, the red jacket that you see people wearing, this was part of the expedition, because this against the white snow, this is a very unique color, and people could easily recognize. If you were out there, this was so bright that you could be found easily. So it was mandatory that every time we went out to land, we had to wear this jacket. You couldn't wear. I had taken a bright green jacket also, but when we went off the boat, we couldn't wear that. We had to wear this. Okay, a couple of words about the Drake Passage and this area of the sea. So some of you might have seen that or you might have heard that one of the roughest seas in the world is this Drake Passage. It really, really pushes your ship up and down, and then we are all landlubbers, right? We are not experienced sailors at all. So they provide Dramamine on the ship. And I was, at the Dramamine and spent the day. This was a two-day passage crossing. And we had not not an extremely bad sea, but it was medium bad. So the boat was rocking, rocking, rocking. So most of us spent most of the day in our rooms sleeping, because the other thing the rocking boat does is it's like a cradle, so it will rock you, and बहुत अच्छी नींद आती है. You can sleep well. So I would just wake up for meals and then again go back to the room. Maybe walk a little bit on the corridor. Going ahead. Our ship was called Sea Spirit. So as you can see, there were a lot of lectures and preps. So here, this lady, she is telling us about all the currents, all the ocean currents, and then this is where she had um, talked about what to expect once we get to Antarctica. This was during the 2 days where we were holed up in our cabins. I don't think I attended this lecture because I was sleeping in my room, but I'm sure it was very informative. And yes, we did have a welcome aboard cocktail. It was with champagne, which was nice, or coffee. So these gentlemen, they were the people. One was in charge of the kitchen, and one was in charge of all the rooms that we were staying. So they actually divide the crew up into the hotel, which is the dining and the rooms and all that, and then the actual technical running of the ship, which is all the engine maintenance and the driving the ship and all that good stuff. And then of course there is the third set of people who are our expedition masters or expedition leaders. Now, the thing to notice that I noticed is that because it was COVID time, there was a lot of segregation. So only people who were part of the hotel, which is like the dining crew, which was the wait staff, and the head chef. None of the other chefs came in contact with the tourists, really. And the people who took care of our cabins, like cleaned it and all that, we only came in contact with those people. But I know there were many, many, many more crew that were working to make sure things ran properly. But because of COVID, there was really, really good segregation. So yeah, these are our kitchen and or dining and cabins, the hotel people. Okay. Okay, the next thing is that I want to talk about is this IAATO. There is an International Association of Antarctic Tour Operators, and these guys play a very, very, very important role in making sure that so many tourists go to Antarctica, but that Antarctica doesn't get polluted. So they really work on this biosecurity piece of it. And I think I have a little bit of video on it. I'll talk about it in a minute. Okay, so what is happening here is each and every person, each and every tourist had to come up and work with one of the staff members with all our clothes and gear to make sure that they were thoroughly clean. In the sense that we were told initially that, make sure whatever gear you bring, it's washed so that we are not carrying any microbes or anything from the mainland to Antarctica. And here, what they're doing is they're actually examining it, and like, your gloves, your cap, your socks, your jackets, your outerwear, anything that will come in touch with the once you land on Antarctica, once you get off the Zodiac and get on the land, is thoroughly, thoroughly clean. So they actually have vacuum cleaners over there. So they inspected everything. They literally inspected everything. So this took a lot of time, but they did it. See?
Oh, you washed them. They're clean, yeah.
Yeah, she's looking at the cap. She's going to see, she's going to vacuum it. They take this very seriously. See, he found something. And with a tweezer, he took it out. I mean, they really are careful. Okay, we had to, after you got checked, there was a sign off. Also, every single day in the morning, we had to take our temperatures and report it. So we had to go to the station where there was the ship's doctor, and we had to get our temperature checked, and for COVID essentially. This is one of the lecture theaters. They really prepped us before we went off. So pristine, right? Okay, this was the first time we would get on land. So everybody was very excited. All this while, yes, so we've come to Antarctica. Yes, the latitudes are correct, and the latitude and longitude, geographic location is correct, but we haven't stepped onto land. And this was going to be our first day. So look at it. That was a whale. Okay, so I was telling you about the zodiacs. The ship kind of parks away from the land, and then these are the little rafts, and 10 people to a raft, we go on to the land. Okay. So see, everybody has to wear that red outfit. This was some kind of a jellyfish. A fur seal. They're so funny the way they walk. So funny. So this was our ship, the Poseidon expedition ship called the Sea Spirit. When we had gone, it was the end of the hatching season. So we did see some chicks, but not as many. Right, we had gone at end of February. It was kind of towards the end of the warm season, but we did see some chicks. This is an Arctic tern. They fly around, and I had expected that all birds over here would be white, but no, these were brown, and their beaks are really, really sharp. They feed on, penguin eggs and sometimes penguin chicks. So see, you can, with the red shirts, you can see. Now, on this island, there is this is an Australian cabin, okay, from the mid 1900s. So they have preserved it for tourists. These are the kayaks. Some people went kayaking. I did not go kayaking, but there were some people who did. So you have a leader in a yellow kayak and then everybody else in a red kayak. Okay, so here you can see, remember I was saying that not all the zodiacs go up to the land. So in this case, this was the second day that we were going out. So let me just talk about these outings. We had a 2-hour outing in the morning and 2-hour outing in the afternoons every day that we were near land. So when it says Querville and Neko Harbor, it means Querville was in the morning and Neko Harbor was in the afternoon. Okay. Here we had to get off in the water and then walk on land. As you can see near the water, because it was the end of summer, a lot of the ice had melted. So there's a lot of rocks that got exposed, and the ice started off a little bit behind. They really look lazy. And they are. So this is how near we were to the penguins, but our expedition leaders, they kept a very strict eye. You couldn't touch any of the wildlife. Anyone who went even a little bit nearer than this, you would get a shout or a whistle. The penguins, the penguins who walk so funnily on land, waddle, 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 in the water, just look at them, so slick. And just like dolphins, these penguins also, when they start swimming, they do this little jump, this set of little jumps. And that looks really cute, especially when they are like 3 or 4 in a row. It's very entertaining. Here's a little baby. See how funny they walk? Oh. By the way, these guys are extremely noisy. If you were actually there, you could hardly hear yourself talk. That's how noisy they are. Everybody is talking. Chop, 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 chop. Somebody is calling from there. Somebody is shouting. Somebody is, it's not quiet. It's not quiet. Okay, a word about penguin highways. In some places, and I think there is a picture of that also, the penguins, when they go up and down the hill, they often follow in a specific path. And so what happens is, as they walk for days and days, a bunch of penguins are walking the same path. So it actually becomes a little bit indented and discolored. And I'm sure you'll see it in the video somewhere. Okay, here I want to talk about calving. Okay, calving is when a big chunk of ice falls off of the land and floats into the sea. When the calving happens, it sounds like thunder. It really sounds like a big cannon going off, or huge thunder, and then a crash, 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 crash. A huge chunk of ice will slowly get into the water. So the first day that we heard this, we were very concerned. The whole group of 10 of us was very concerned. What happened? What happened? And then we were told that look there, and there was this corner where the icebergs were calving, and immediately all the kayaks were called back, and no more zodiacs back and forth, because if you are in their path, these come down at a huge speeds, and there can be an accident. So So each of us had the option of using one of these ski poles for a trek. This was a trek day. And a word about the flags. Look at these red flags that are there. Actually, when we went hiking on land, these red flags were marked the path, and we had to stay within the path. You couldn't, deviate outside the path because mm, of some day, either it was dangerous or it was habitat for the penguins. Okay. And we made snow people. This is a wattle seal or Weddell seal. It has spots all over. It's not as furry and it has spots all over. So this day, 24th, was very cloudy right from the morning. It was cloudy, it was snowing, not very hard, but it was snowing. So we almost thought that there wouldn't be an expedition. But, the crew people also know that we really, really want to go on land. We really want to go on land. So they make it a point that if at all possible, they will take us out. So on this day, on 24th, when we went to Portal Point in Wilhelmina Bay, you can see how much it was snowing, and we did go. Weddell seal, Pat Weddell seal, waddle waddle. This is a fur seal. That was our whale sighting. Fur seal. So this was a party we had during our cruise, and this was outdoor. Of course, we did go and attend because we wanted to have dinner, but it was so cold. Both Devashish and I, we were like, we should have brought our blankets. Quickly, eat something and let's run to the room. Though we had, there was somebody playing guitar, and the staff, they were playing the guitar, and some people were dancing. There was wine and everything, but we were like, enough. I live in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm not used to the cold. See, they had roasted a whole pig. Yeah. Um, by the way, we did have a hot tub in on the ship. Not that many people used it. We definitely did not use it, but yes. And at the back, that's the Bashish. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this, what we are seeing over here. So, like I said, about 100 years ago or more, there used to be a lot of whaling um, by the people from Sweden and Norway and in the Arctic Circle. They had, you must have heard of Amundsen and all those great explorers. So during those times, these huge cast iron ships came to Antarctica and to hunt for whales. And this is just the remnants of one of the ships that is still there for the tourists to see. They haven't dismantled it, but you can see the size of the ship. So on the ship, they did some pre processing of the whales. If it was towards the beginning of their hunting season and they were going to be out on sea, then the first few whales, they had to gut it and take out the blubber and do some processing. Most of the processing was done once the whales were brought on, or once the blubber was brought on land. But these ships also had pre-processing for the oil. These are footsteps. Now you see a slight reddish color, and that is because of an algae that grows in this area. So it's not blood, in case you were wondering, but it's an algae that grows there. So as you can see, we were near, but not very near. Okay, these, I'm sorry, look at, I'll just go back a little bit because I want to show you this penguin. Hey, come on. Okay, look at these penguins. You can see a little black mark under their chins. These are called chin strap penguins. Just another type of penguin, but yeah, I learned it, so you have to know about it. Yeah, look at the chin straps. Yeah. Chin straps. This is a white bird. I forget its name. It's an Arctic tern. So this is the place where they set up the whaling station on land. So you can see these huge drums. They would fill these drums with the blubber oil for transportation. So all through the summer months, they would go whaling. They would catch the whale, get the blubber, download the oil, extract the oil, and those shacks at the back, that's where they lived. Right now, this is like a really ruined island, and there are a lot of seals over here. The thing about the seals over here are they're a little bit aggressive. They know, they're aware of human beings, but they're not very friendly. And you have to be careful because they move quite fast. And if you are isolated by yourself and you're standing watching a seal, suddenly if he gets in a bad mood, he'll just rush you. So the waters over there were a little bit warmer. So there was this kind of a fog that was coming out of the water. And you can see that the ground over here is so dark and rocky and black soil. A tomb of someone who passed away over there. And like I said, all over the ruins are these um, weird little animals and sea animals and seals. They're all over the place. Here is an ancient boat on Half Moon Bay. Melly Scratch. See, this is a different kind of penguin with the neck all black. So once you finished your land visit, you came back and immediately you were served this hot beverage and some cake and cookies just to warm you up. Yeah, we had a DJ. This was a party. This was the housekeeping staff. And this guy in the corner, he was he took care of like Debashish and my cabin. And he was so nice. I lost a earring and he took, I don't know, maybe half an hour to really go through our cabin and he found it for me. And as you can see, the staff is from all over the world. There's somebody from India, and there's somebody from, this guy's from South America. He looks very Filipino, and our staff was absolutely Filipino. She is from from Mexico. This is administration, restaurant, the bar. Okay, this guy. Okay, he's the head chef. He was from India. So there were there were five people of Indian origin on this cruise. There was Debashish and I from Arizona. There was another guy from California of Indian origin. There were two people from Dubai, actually. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, six people from of Indian origin. And our head chef was Indian. So I chatted up to him and I told him I'm from Bengal. So can we have macher chol bhat? And as you may well imagine, in Antarctica, one day he made fish curry and rice for us, for Debashish and I, and the other two people from Dubai. The other two weren't interested, but for four of us, he made the fish curry and rice, and we had a lovely. And I'll show you pictures of that in a little bit. Also, there were in the cuisine, there were on multiple days or multiple meals, there were Indian options also, which was really nice. See all those guys on the engine and marina, we never met them. The bridge, we never met the captain. And these were the guys that took us around, and they were the cool people. And okay, I want to stop at one lady. This lady, no, not this lady. See, I think this lady. The doctor. And that's it for the video. Now, before I go ahead, this is the lady I wanted to talk about. She is Sana, and she was also one of our expedition leaders, but she is the only one on board who had actually skied to the South Pole. She was the only one who, who we knew had been to the South Pole. Now, all of, as you can see, she's a geologist. So all these people who were our expedition leads actually had a, very well educated, had a lot of knowledge, had a lot of proper knowledge. Okay. Wanted to share the map with you. So this map talks about where are the places that we went to. All the X's are the little places that we went to that you saw in the video, like Deception Point, Half Moon Bay, and all these things. Okay. So let me go back to where are we? Microsoft Teams. And I would like to, if it's okay with you, I would like to now share a few of my personal photographs with some personal stories. Is that okay, or is
Perfectly okay, Sarbari. Please go ahead. Please go ahead. That will be
Okay,
interesting.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. Antarctica. And okay, this is the one that I want to share with you. Okay, this is the picture of the fish curry that I talked about way back down in Antarctica. Let's see. And this here is the chef, the head chef, where I was trying to coax him into making us the fish curry. And I think this is his name, Suresh Karkala, executive chef from India. This is some more of, we were eating. This is the fish curry meal. That's Amit. He's from Dubai, and this is Baiju from Dubai. Okay, and this is the green jacket I was talking about that I couldn't wear on the expeditions, but I could wear on board. By the way, all these chairs are actually hooked using a chain under the chair. It's hooked to the floor using a chain, because if the ship moves, you don't want the chair to go, for a furler, come a furler. Let's see, what else is our. I wanted to show you our cabins. Not this one. This is a cabin. No, this is just this is where we were just hanging out. This is a short video, I think. Yeah, this was what we were absolutely fascinated. We had just gotten on this Zodiac for the first time, and we're going on land. Okay, so that's just about the food and the ship. Now, let's please, Ruma, I'm meeting it. Now I have a few more. This is my personal collection, so it's really the same boat that you saw in the video, but just a different angle. I just like this picture a little bit better. Okay, close. This is of one of the oceans. This is an old shack. And so all these relics are there, and then the seals are right there. And those red flags were, you cannot go nearer than that. Don't go nearer than that to this relic. Another one of the ship. Okay, the icebergs. Look at the blue inside. It's so beautiful. Like, it's really pristine. the same picture. This is where I was saying that for some reason from the water, there was thing rising. There was, yeah. Well, I also actually did try the ice, tasted the ice, and it just tasted like freshwater ice out of the fridge. Just so you know, in case you were wondering. Okay, that's kind of my presentation. I will stop sharing and we can talk if you have any questions. Is everybody asleep by now?
Yeah, no. Everyone is so mesmerized, I guess. And you know, there is a phrase which gets repeated in this group whenever there is a beautiful presentation, and that is, I think Arun sir will say that, and that is from, I think, Alik Padmasi or someone, that if after a presentation or a talk or a show there is a silence for 2-3 minutes and then the clapping begins, then you must understand that it was out of the world.
Oh, I'm so touched. Thank you, guys. Thank you. And thank you, Asutosh.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
the one man who is to be thanked is, of course, Ashutosh. I'll just take 1 minute. Sarbari, yours has been the most awaited session that we have had in
Oh.
last 1 year. The reason, I mean, probably a couple of months. The first time
Yes.
Ashutosh announced was probably 50, I mean, maybe 6 weeks back or so. We have not waited for a session so long. And this session was worth waiting, Madam Chaudhary.
Thank
I mean,
you
I could feel
so much.
the enthusiasm with which you spoke. I'm very sure you must have shown the video to around maybe in 3-4 years to more than 100 people. But still, you have retained that infectious enthusiasm with which you really narrated. I could feel the cold, I could feel the cold of that place. Excellent,
Oh man,
excellent.
it was so cool. And thank you for this opportunity to take me back to Antarctica and relive it. As I was talking, I could, again, those scenes were coming back to my mind. I'm actually still Facebook friends with about 5 people who had accompanied us, who were on the same trip. And, I watch, obviously, people who are on this trip are avid travelers. Otherwise, who will undertake such an arduous thing? You had to go. See, I went from Phoenix to Miami to Argentina to Buenos Aires to Ushuaia, stayed in Ushuaia, and then, went to Antarctica and then came back all the way. But that trip was very good because on the way back, I also got to see not only Argentina or parts of southern Argentina, the El Calafate area, but also went to Bolivia. So it was like, so most of these people are avid travelers, they're avid photographers. Baiju, who I showed from Dubai, he's an avid photographer. I wait to see his photographs. So, this is a great opportunity to relive that. And I could almost taste that fish curry, by the way.
All right.
Just amazing. I mean, your enthusiasm and going back, as I said, was obvious. So maybe I'll plan our next trip to Antarctica now. So Ashutosh,
Yes.
back to you.
Yeah.
And Colombo, I mean, sorry, Colombo, what's the place? Very beautiful place in Argentina.
Argentina in Ushuaia. Ushuaia.
Yeah, yeah.
If you go to Ushuaia, there is a road that ends, and at the end, there is a big board saying "End of the World," because this is the southernmost highway. Southernmost highway. Yep.
Okay.
Ashutosh, you can take the questions from there. Thank you. I couldn't stop myself from peeping in, ma'am. I just couldn't stop myself. No, normally, that is not the order we follow. So Ashutosh, please take it over from here.
Yeah, most welcome. And you are welcome to speak again, Arun sir. We have two hands raised here. The first one is Dipankarda and second will be Kaushalya. So Dipankarda, you have already unmuted yourself. Please go ahead.
Yeah. No, these are not really questions. First thing I was wondering, how long was the day that time in the month of February?
In the month of February, the days were maybe 14 hours,
Oh,
about
so
14 hours.
that
So
okay, that's not too much. And
that's not too much.
all those 14 hours, what these penguins would do to keep themselves busy?
Oh my gosh, they fight among themselves, they feed the babies, they get into the water. You know, we used to have 2 hour, things to the land where you actually saw the penguin. On one of those trips, I refused to go anywhere. I just sat on the beach for 1 hour of that time and just watched the penguins. You know, they fight like husband wife fight. They fight. They they feed the babies, and some of the
Meetings? Meetings?
Kindly go on
literally
mute others. Okay,
No, did you
sorry.
see them
Sorry,
in a
Deepak.
meeting? Meeting, I
Okay.
mean.
mating. No, this was, they had already laid their eggs. It was too late
Oh, no,
in the
no, no.
season.
I mean meeting. Is I'm gone? No.
No, okay.
Meeting the young ones, not really, not really. They would hide under their parents' feet. And then the other thing that I realized, I had seen penguins before in their natural habitat in New Zealand. I'd seen them in South Africa at that Simon's Town, Cape Town, but and had seen that they were small. But somehow I thought that the Antarctica penguins would be really big penguins, like the emperor penguin or something. The emperor penguins with the little yellow in the neck, they are only found near the South Pole, so they are not on the coast. And
Okay.
these penguins were up to my knee, maybe up to my
Oh,
knee, or
okay.
yeah, that's how big they
And
were.
did
But
you get any chance to meet any people who live there for longer period, like the scientists?
no scientist camp, no science camps. This was just for the tourists, and they are very, very careful. They're very careful. You really cannot go off by yourself, and you're wearing that red jacket. Prrr, one whistle will come if you
Okay,
deviate at
okay,
all.
okay. Thank you. It was such a nice presentation. I mean, even I was in Antarctica. I mean, with you.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, Dada, thank you. Kaushalya, you can unmute yourself if you want to say something. I see your hand raised.
Yeah, sorry everyone. Due to a network issue, I got disconnected, and I missed the amazing session. So
You can watch the recording, Kaushalya. I'll share
Yeah,
the
recording
links
here.
later. Yeah.
yeah, and that time I got disconnected when Dilip sir telling me something. So
He was praising you a lot. Dilip sir can repeat it again. Dilip sir, you're talking about Kaushalya. Kindly repeat those golden words.
Yes, Kaushalya, I was only complimenting you, and I said that we know you through your writings, and I applaud the passion that you have for the subjects that are closer to your heart, and I really, really appreciate what you write on this. So please carry on, don't change.
okay, thank you for encouraging me.
Okay, Kaushalya, thank you. And I look forward to sharing the recording. It will be uploaded
I
on
think
our YouTube channel and I'll share it.
I
So
think
you can have a look.
Anurag wants to ask a question.
Yeah.
Anurag.
So next is Anurag's turn. Anurag is the next one. Anuragji, you can unmute yourself and ask your question or
Yeah.
your comment.
Hey, Sarbari. So thank you so much for walking us through your journey. I'm sure this would be going back into the memory lane, and it was amazing to see
Yes.
the enthusiasm and the details you captured. Uh, also an avid traveler, kind of keep visiting a lot of national parks and kind of go through that. So I have a very different question to ask you. So when you were going through this voyage for the 7 days, what was going in your hearts and mind? How was your experience as such? I know it's beautiful from outside, but how beautiful? What was going on in your mind? What was your experience during that time?
okay. Let me see. I haven't thought this out, so I'm going to, just talk. Okay. So before I went, obviously there was the preparation time, and my husband and I, we are actually all four of us. We are a family of procrastinators. We believe in just-in-time work. So it was really maybe 15 days before the actual trip, when we were so we had done our cruise booking a year back, but then all the other logistics about the plane ticket, what to pack, what to buy, all that was last minute. That happened. So I didn't have much time to think about, oh, I'm going to Antarctica. Oh, I'm doing this great thing. It was like, oh my gosh, do I need to get a warm inners? Do I need to get gloves? Can we order on Amazon? Is there enough time for it to reach us? All those things were happening. That was before we went. Then, of course, there was the trip. But once we were on the boat, and we really didn't have to think about logistics, it was amazing to see how diverse this group of co-travelers were. And then there was another thing that I put in there. We, like I said, we had 50% Russian speaking and 50% English speaking. So what happened is the Poseidon Expeditions Company is owned by a Russian syndicate. I won't say syndicate, doesn't sound good, but a Russian company. Okay. The Sea Spirit, the boat, actually, the hardware is owned by Russians, and then all the software, the hotel, the food, and all these things is owned by a company from Portugal in Madeira. Okay, and it so happened we had a really good cruise because the MD of the company, the hotel company, was actually on the cruise with us. He and his family. So everybody was on their toes, and it was nice. And a couple of times, what we did is while dining, we were divided, like I said, into 4 groups: A, B, C, D. A and B were Russian speaking. C and D were English speaking. So I was in the C group. We were in the C group. So within the C group, we would exchange tables and have dinner or have our meal so that we could meet more people. Instead of sitting exactly at the same table all the time. So the other thing that occurred is while we were on the trip, if you remember, the Russian-Ukrainian war started. And that day, so there was a bar upstairs. Okay, there was on the deck that we were living, upstairs was a bar. So I was in the bar. We hadn't, obviously, I wasn't connected to the internet or that much or anything, or not really looking at the news. But obviously, when that information came, I remember I was sitting at the bar and suddenly, these 4 big Russian guys came up and started talking. And I could hear Ukraine. I could hear the word Ukraine. There were 2 people in the English-speaking group who were actually from Ukraine. There was a lawyer and her husband with a little baby. So they had left you don't bring little babies in there. So they had left the baby with the grandpa, and the grandpa was in Ukraine at that time. So we were on tenterhooks that what is going to happen. And in that, that's when I first heard something, Ukraine. And then, of course, somebody got the news and it spread like wildfire. And this lady whose child was with the grandpa in Ukraine, since she was with us in the English-speaking thing, oh my gosh, she was crying and panicking. We were trying to connect to the grandpa. Finally, she was able to connect. They were hiding in some kind of a bomb shelter. And the whole time after that, things were so tense. And these Russians, they were getting together, and I don't know what they were saying, but I had thought that maybe they would not get out of their rooms, but they were very much up and about. Then the last day, when we were coming back on the Drake Passage, that day again it was on ship. That day we started hearing that a lot of these Russians who were actually either soldiers or did menial jobs back in Russia, or simple jobs back in Russia, they actually did not want to go back. And the reason is they were scared that they would be drafted. They would have to go to war. So it was really amazing, Anurag, to see see the other sides, to see the human side. So these were some of the various things that was going on in my mind. Just looking at the adventure of these travelers, the knowledge of these travelers, the quirks of these travelers. There was also a little bit of like gossip, quote unquote gossip, because this one guy, apparently he had met this bartender in Ushuaia, and before boarding the ship, and how he was going to go back, and he was planning how to date her and all that. So all that gossip was also going on. And it's just the human thing that we're all people, and how different people are. Now, both Baiju and this other guy, Amit, from Dubai, they had come by themselves, not with their families at all. And they were very surprised at Devashish and I that, oh, you brought your wife along. Like, what is this? Nahi hota hai. But yeah, it was good. It was good. Does that kind of answer your question, Anurag?
Yes and no. So yes, I think thank you for sharing some of those things. I was asking you this question more spiritual aspect of it, that did you feel any difference in your calmness? Did you experience something when you were in the Antarctica as a land? For example, when I go to a lot of these national parks and some of these voyages, I feel a very different sense of calm within myself. I think those lands are like really different, and they kind of share a very different kind of energy. So you can feel that energy once you're there in those lands. Did you feel anything different as a place, as the energy of the place, or how it was different? The first part you just said was fantastic. The second aspect I wanted to ask.
So, Anurag, to frankly say, I am a very basic people's person. So to me, connecting with people is how my mind works. Yes, there are places which are calm and soothing and such, but most of my trips, I call myself a collector. So I collect these experiences. It's like, in the moment, as I'm talking to, for example, there was this guy called there was this lady, Hong Ling, from California. She and I talked a lot about, she had a teenage daughter, and, we were talking about the issues she's having and why she's traveling and how this excites her, this kind of travel. So we got a little bit about her life. Then my observation of the crew who, like, from India and Sri Lanka and Philippines, they're warm places. Now they're working, 8 months of the year in this cold place, where even their shore leaves is, Ushuaia in Argentina. That's it. So just thinking about their perspective. So I don't know if you call that spiritual. I feel it's more my collecting stories or experiences. Sorry
That is
if
great.
I didn't meet you.
No, that's a good answer. I think I appreciate that. I think you came back with a lot of richness of experience, different culture, different countries. You also understood some of these aspects of people who work in this condition. While we are travelers and visitors, we are so in awe and inspired by that. But I think those people who make it happen, it's not easy. It's one of those toughest jobs. So I think great to hear that kind of an experience from you, Sarbari. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Buddy, I can see Dipankarda and Arun sir both raising their. Dipankarda, do you want to talk again something? You can unmute yourself and then I'll come back to Arun sir. You are muted, sir. You have to unmute yourself. Dipankarda.
Yeah, now I'm all right?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Actually, what I wanted to ask is that I've not seen penguins, but the way I see them in the pictures, they look like social animals
They
or
are.
social birds.
They are. They are.
So did you see that type of interaction where they make a decision together type, not just couples, but beyond that?
You know, when I mean, I don't know if this is a good answer, but it felt like when they were getting into the water, for example, so one penguin would start walking towards the water. Then suddenly there were like two penguins. Then suddenly three or four would start following. So I don't know how that happened, but uh, you know, 1 minute they're screaming their heads off, talking, looking here, looking there. Then from all angles, from the hills or something, these penguins would start walking, and suddenly they all get into the water together, and then
So
jump
there
in.
is some social communication, looks like.
Yeah. And also, what I was talking about, the penguin highways, where
Yeah.
they follow that same path. If they are going down to the ocean, or going to the little hill that they is theirs, there is definitely a depression over there where that these people have been walking there. So
Time tested, maybe.
Hmm.
Maybe time tested. Yeah.
Right.
All right. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Arun sir, it's all yours. You can unmute yourself.
I want to thank Anurag for having asked that question. I mean, it was really a good question. Sharbari ma'am, since you are associated with creative, lots of creative aspects of life, and not to speak of painting and other things, movies, did you think of writing a story on just the kind of things those you explained by talking to Anurag about the Russians and the Ukrainians, the psychological maybe insight what was happening inside them? You saw some of those things, happening outwardly, but inwardly, those Russians not wanting to go back to their own country for the fear of being drafted. So have you thought of writing a story or maybe making a movie out of that experience?
Wow.
So Arun sir, before Sarbari answers, one more thing I forgot to mention in her introduction. She is an author and she already has many books published and books of short stories as well. In fact, the last time that we met, probably in 2011, in our college get together, I think her first, second, or third book was published at that time. So she is very much capable of. So Sarbari, back to you. Sorry, I stole
Just
this part of your time.
moment, Ashutosh, I asked that question to her precisely because of what you said some time back. Just now, you had shared some data about her, so I went to net and found out. So it was a question. It was more of an answer which I'm expecting, some kind of a tautology. I'm expecting the answer probably in yes, but madam, all yours.
I mean, Arunda, I was just going to say that I actually hadn't thought about it, but it would make a great short story, I think. Just, if I think about it, really, the atmosphere over there, and this guy, Amit, from Dubai, his roommate was a Russian soldier. So what happened is they couldn't communicate because that guy spoke only Russian and Amit spoke only English. But they used Google Translator. And so Amit was the one who brought this news to me that, he's really hesitating. And they were actually talking about that, can we stay back in Ushuaia or shall we go to this other place? Like, where can they already had tickets back to Moscow, but it was through different cities, right? So which city can we just disappear so that I don't have to go to Ushuaia? I don't have to go back to Russia. Yeah, that's a very good suggestion, Orunda. If I ever write it, you will be one of the people I get to read it.
Yeah, I mean, Dilip ji has raised the hand. I mean, it would be some kind of an Agatha Christie novel, murder, the possible murder could have happened in Antarctica. But those, I
Arunji
mean,
is already giving you a plot.
I
the
know.
habitual bad joke apart, the habitual bad joke apart, this would be really an amazing, being topical also, not only it's being topical, but it would be an amazing, maybe trying to go inside the mind of these people and your own imagination plus what you saw. I'm very sure it will promise to be a very, very good story. Dilip da.
ঠিক আছে, try করবো. I'll definitely give it a serious thought. Right now, I'm so deep working on my latest film that আর কিছু চিন্তা করতে পারি. I can't think of anything else. Lekin I will definitely. I'm actually taking a note of this comment.
Yeah, please do that, and maybe you can share some of the experiences. I can put my input maybe as a third-rate writer. What could have gone inside the minds of those people, which you can explore further, imagine further, and expand further. Sarbari ma'am, thank you very much.
Awesome, awesome.
Arun sir, on a lighter note, you are fishing for compliments by calling yourself a third-grade writer.
I mean, since you are very good in provoking, Sarbari ma'am, I am basically kind of a proverbial joker in the pack called learning together. So when La Sholay, when there's a silence, and when I ask, "Itna sannata kyun hai, bhai?" Then what I do, I come up with one of those absurd jokes. But thanks to the group, they turn this profanity into a profound. I mean, they take it to a profound level. So that is my only contribution in the group. Dilip, I think Dilip ji wants to say something.
Yes, Dilip sir, what you?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for such a fascinating account of what must have been a truly amazing journey. You have traveled to 70 countries, so there's a lot of romance attached to travel, But traveling to 70 countries, first of all, how did you manage that? And then my second question is, out of those 70 countries, which was a travel which you almost regretted, or which was very dangerous, or which was the one which you liked the most? If you can tell us something about that.
Okay, I can answer the second question. I have not regretted any travel as yet. It's so exciting for me, but I can tell you one incident which I know now that I had put myself in a very, very dangerous position. So I'll just take 2 minutes to talk about it. This was in Israel. I'd gone to Israel for work, and then I was staying in Haifa. Near about an hour from Haifa I heard about this little village where they had these typical folk handicrafts. Like I said, I'm a collector, so I wanted to go there, but I didn't have chutti, right? So I had to work through the day and then go in the evening. So I went in the evening, I took a taxi and I went by myself. What I didn't know is, first and foremost, it was an Arab village. It was a Palestinian village. And what I didn't know, and I didn't know the language, of course. I don't speak either Hebrew or Arabic. So happily, I landed up. I reached about 5:30, and my taxi driver kept saying that, "Shall I wait for you? And I'll take you back." I thought, being Indian, growing up in India, I thought, he's taking me for a ride. He's going to wait here and charge me a lot of money. I said, no. I'll get a taxi from here. Fine. He actually asked me at least 4 or 5 times, but I sent him off. So then I walked around. The shop started closing about 6:30 or 7. So, shops were closing. I wanted to come back. There were no taxis. So that village apparently has one taxi, and almost nobody speaks English. I was told there is a bus stand, so I walked in this I walked in the dark to this dingy bus stand and I'm waiting there, waiting there, waiting there. Finally, some woman took pity on me and said that for tonight there are no buses. Why are you waiting here? So I'm like, oh God, how am I going? How am I going back? And I also didn't have the phone number. Us samay to there was no cell phone or anything. So I walked back to the main road, and there is one restaurant open. So I go to that restaurant. That guy spoke a little bit of English. So I told him, he said, I'm so sorry. There is one taxi over here. I'll call him and see if he's available. So he called. The taxi had already gone to Haifa. So wasn't coming back. Not an option. So I was like, now what am I going to do? So I tried talking to him that, I'll pay for someone to give me a ride, this, that. Now, already I'm thinking I'm a single woman. I don't know the language. I don't know the land. I don't know the rules of the land. So, and he was not particularly getting convinced. So then I used my last weapon. I started crying, and then he got nervous. He called some guy with a truck, and he told me that, this kid will take you to Haifa. You just pay him this much money, however money. So I was like, I don't have a choice. So I got into the truck, and this guy, oh my gosh, he looked and sounded exactly like the Palestinian terrorists that you hear about and read about in the news. I'm like, oh my God. Whereas this kid was a nice kid. He started, he was smiling at me and he was trying to speak English, but he didn't know any English. So he put on some English music for me in his truck. And I'm getting more and more scared that why is he trying to put on English music now? What is going to happen? So anyway, ultimately I was able to, he did bring me to Haifa. Then I kept telling him my hotel, the name of my hotel, because I didn't want him to just drop me somewhere. But finally, he dropped me to the bus station. From there, I could get some conveyance to go back to the hotel. So that was my most harrowing. I've had a similar thing in China, but this was the most harrowing experience. But I still don't regret it. It wasn't bad.
You really are an intrepid traveler.
Which year was this, Sarbari?
This was, I'll have to find out, Ashutosh. It was definitely after the Palestinian war.
No, why I'm saying this, if I
Hello?
no, if I remember correctly, in your, sorry, can you hear me, Sarbari?
Yeah, you're breaking up, but bolo.
No, I was just no, I was just trying to remind you. In your campus interview in one of the companies, your a similar situation was simulated, and you are supposed to answer how are you going to handle it, if I remember correctly.
You think I had been thinking since then, huh?
Yes.
Especially the crying part.
Yeah.
I know you guys are mostly men, but it did work. It did work. You have to use whatever. As far as the best experience, there are a number. I used to always say it's Greece that I enjoyed the most. But recently, I was, just last month, I was in Croatia and Montenegro. I really enjoyed Croatia and Montenegro. It was mainly because of the people and the company, or maybe that's the most current in my mind. But traveling always excites me. I can't say. So 70, actually it's 77, not 70. 77.
77. Wow.
34% of the 34.8% of the world's countries. I'm counting.
Wow. Great.
So, Sarbari, this is Anurag. I want to share one thing. I know this is like, so I have seen this Russia versus Ukraine war much more closely than most of you have seen it, because I work for a company which was based in Russia and Ukraine. I think EPAM Systems I work for. And their headquarters, they were started as a Belarusian company. Majority of the workforce was divided into these three countries. And you can imagine, out of the 50,000 workforce, there are 35,000 workforce, which was in Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus. They were like, and they were all like one giant family before this war. There are many people who are husband and wives are like from Russian and Ukrainian. There are like multiple client teams, which are like Russian, half Ukrainian. And a lot happened, a lot more happened. I think I can talk hours and hours about it. But one thing which I'll tell you, I mean, it was a big, huge time for EPAM to actually manage this. I mean, what you're saying is like in a very small spectrum. I saw this in a much, much, much larger spectrum in the last 3 years. And I joined this company just 6 months before this war. So you can imagine, I mean, they had a 30 years of legacy, like brotherhood and everything. And then suddenly you're like enemies. But one thing which our CEO said, and it made a very huge impact on EPAM and me as well. And I think it completely changed my perspective about country and people. I mean, you said you're a people person, so I thought I'll share this anecdote here. You will appreciate it. He said this thing that, people are not responsible for the action of their governments. While though people are responsible to elect the government, but once the government is sitting over there, and if they are taking an action, you cannot penalize the other people on the other side for their action, for their government action, because people is government, but people is not government. Believe me, that statement had been so powerful statement in my life. It completely changed the way and perspective at which now I look at people, because yes, you choose the government, you install the government somehow. It can be dictatorial government, so you apprehend the government or you don't go against the government, but you are not responsible for all the action for the person which is sitting on the top. And that brought a lot of peace and calm within our company, and kind of instill the sense of same brotherhood what we went through. And we are being known as now we are one of the largest company which has moved the largest amount of people during this war from this war zone into the
Anurag ji,
non-war
I'm
zone.
sorry for interrupting here. Probably we'll confine ourselves
Yes.
to the discussion,
No, no,
and I
absolutely.
think
Thank you.
we can have a separate session for what you are talking. It really sounds very interesting, but please pardon me for
Thank you.
interjecting here. So okay. Uh, so I think we have already passed 2 hours or close to 2 hours. Sarbari, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
So I think we have already completed 2 hours of this session,
Yeah. Oh
and
my
I know
goodness.
there'll be many more people to talk and kind of give their comments. There was also a proxy question which you have already answered, Sarbari. Somebody had who's not in the on the session right now asked a question about the environmental impact of Antarctica tourism, which you already answered in your talk. So I'm not going to ask that
Right,
question.
right.
But anyway, it was really a wonderful session. And
Thank
I
you.
must tell you that you are going to be a superstar of this group. And and people are already looking forward to your next talk. Or definitely it will be
Oh goodness.
in a different field,
Oh
on a
goodness.
different topic. Sorry.
Oh goodness. Okay. Okay, thank
Yeah.
you very much. I am honored to be part of this, and I'm honored, Ashutosh, that you thought of me to come and talk about something. Really, really appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you, Sarvari. Thank you. Really proud of you. Thank you, everyone, and
Thank
have a good day.
you.
Thank you.